Good day to everyone, and we will now be discussing about the understanding, philosophy, and styles. So I am Kenneth Mark Arucan, and we'll discuss about the philosophy of leadership. So what is your philosophy of leadership? Are you the kind of leader who closely monitor your followers, or are you the laid-back type of leader who who gives followers a lot of reign? Whether you are one or the other or somewhere between, it is important to recognize your personal philosophy of leadership, because the philosophy affects how others respond to you and how your followers respond to their work, and how effective as a leader you are. So what does philosophy of leadership mean? So it is a set of beliefs and principles used to evaluate information and respond to the people and situation. It allows anyone to hear it to gain an understanding of your value, priorities, approaches to your decision making, and what you expect from yourself and the others. Each of us approaches leadership with a with a unique set of beliefs and attitude about the nature of people and how nature of work. For example, some think people are basically good and will happily work if given a chance. Other people think are prone to be a bit lazy and need to be nudged to complete their work. These beliefs about people and work have significant impact on an individual leadership style and probably come into a play in every aspect of a person's leadership. So next we have leadership styles. A leadership styles refer to a leader characteristics behavior when directing, motivating your group, guiding, and managing your group of people. They can also motivate others to perform, create, and innovative. Douglas MacGregor addressed the question, do you think people like work, or do you think people work unpleasant? In his famous book, The Human Side of Enterprise, 1960. So MacGregor proposed two general theories. First is general theory X and theory Y. MacGregor believed that by exploring the major assumption of each these theories, people could develop a better understanding on their own viewpoint on human behavior and the relationship of these viewpoints to their leadership styles. So next we have theory X. Theory X is made up of three assumptions about human nature and human behavior. First, MacGregor's theory X is people dislike work. So the average person dislikes work and will avoid it if possible. An example of this assumption is the worker who says, I only go to work to be paid. If I didn't need to pay my bills, I would never work. So a person with this kind of philosophy would avoid work if they could. So next is we have assumption 2. People need to be directed and controlled. This assumption is derived directly from the first assumption. So since people naturally do not like work, an example of this is a teacher persuading a student to do his or her homework by with threatening them with bad grades. So para siyang para siyang you need to supervise or closely monitor your followers to get control to do their work. So third assumption is we have people want security, not responsibility. So this assumption paints of worker that their leaders to take care of them, to protect them and make them feel safe. So because it is difficult for them to set their own goals, workers, they need to be secured and be guided by their leaders. So an example of this assumption is can be observed at the fast food restaurants when the employees only have to focus on the completing the specific task set before them and are not required to take the initiative to do their work on their own. So, commonly, this can see in the restaurants, especially in fast food restaurants. So, next is we have the theory Y. Like theory X, theory Y is based on several specific assumptions about human nature and behavior. First is people like work. So, it's just the opposite of theory X. So, here the average person does not inherently dislike work. Doing work is as natural as play. So this kind of assumption are people see work as satisfying and not as punishment. It is natural activity for them. Um, People are happy to work and they love what they're doing. So it's just the opposite of TDX. So next assumption is we have people are self-motivated. So people will show responsibility and self-control toward goals to which they are committed. So people can be committed in their objectives of their work. Consider some examples of this are in sports or athletes. Athletes do not need to be supervised or get monitored. They can do their work as their own, and they do their work because they have goals and discipline. So athletes, they love what they're doing, and they are not need to be controlled. So the third assumption is people accept and seek responsibility. So in the proper environment, the average person learns to accept and seek responsibility. While Theory X argues that people lack ambition, prefer to be directed, and want security, in this theory assumes that the average person is inherently resourceful and given a chance, will seek to take a responsibility of their work. Even if the chance, people have got the capacity to engage in a wide range goal setting and creative problem solving activities. Theory Y argues that given the responsibility, people will act independently and be productive. So that's all in my report, in my topic. So we will proceed to the next topic. Thank you for listening.
Good morning, everyone. I'm in your feed Tandul from BSCS3A, and I will be reporting the leadership styles explained. What behaviors do you exhibit as a leader? Do you like to be in control and keep up on the activities of your followers? Or do you believe in a more hands-off approach in leading others, letting them make decisions on their own? Whatever your behaviors as a leader, they're indicative of your leadership styles. Leadership style is defined as the behaviors of leaders, focusing on what leaders do and how they act. These include leaders' actions toward followers in a variety of contexts. Whatever your behaviors as a leader, they're indicative of your leadership style. Leadership style is defined as the behavior of leaders, focusing on what leaders do and how they act. These include leaders' actions toward followers in a variety of contexts. As noted in the previous section, your leadership style is driven by your personal leadership philosophy. In the following section, we discuss the most commonly observed leadership styles associated with Theory X and Theory Y: Authoritarian, Democratic, and Laissez-faire. While none of these styles emerge directly from Theory X or Theory Y, the authoritarian and democratic styles closely mirror the ideas set forth in these theories respectively. Styles of leaders and managers. The primary work on styles of leadership was by Lewin, Lippitt, and White, 1939, who analyzed the impact of various leadership styles on small group behavior using groups of 10-year-old boys who met after school to engage in hobby activities. The researchers analyzed what happened when their adult leaders used one of three styles: authoritarian, democratic, or laissez-faire. The group of boys experienced each of the three styles of leadership for a 6-week period. The outcome of this study by Levin and colleagues was a detailed description of the nature of the leadership behavior used for each of the three styles. White and Lippitt, 1968. They also described the impact each of these three styles had on group members. The following section describe and elaborate on their findings and the implications of using each of these leadership styles. Be aware that these styles are not distinct entities. Example like personality traits. They overlap each other. That is, a leader can demonstrate more than one style in any given situation. The authoritarian leadership style. What are the outcomes of authoritarian leadership? Authoritarian leadership has both pluses and minuses. On the positive side, it is efficient and productive. Authoritarian leaders give direction and clarity to people's work and accomplish more in a shorter period. Furthermore, authoritarian leadership is useful in establishing goals and work standards. On the negative side, it fosters dependence, submissiveness, and a loss of individuality. In addition, authoritarian leadership can become abusive leadership, where these leaders use their influence, power, and control for their personal interests or to coerce following to engage in unethical or immoral activities. While the negative aspect of authoritarian leadership appear to outweigh the positive, it is not difficult to imagine contexts where authoritarian leadership would be the preferred style of leadership. Authoritarian leadership style in many ways. The authoritarian leadership style is very similar to Theory X. For example, authoritarian leaders perceive followers as needing direction. The authoritarian leader needs to control followers and what they do. Authoritarian leaders emphasize that they are in charge, exerting influence and control over group members. They determine tasks and procedures for group members, but many remain aloof from participating in group discussions. Democratic leadership style. The democratic leadership style strongly resembles the assumptions of Theory Y. Democratic leadership treats followers as fully capable of doing work on their own. Rather than controlling followers, democratic leaders work with followers, trying hard to treat everyone fairly without putting themselves above followers. In essence, they see themselves as guides rather than as directors. They give suggestions to others, but never with any intentions of changing them. Helping each follower reach personal goals is important to a democratic leader. Democratic leaders do not use top-down communication. Instead, they speak on the same level as their followers. Making sure everyone is heard is a priority. They listen to followers in supportive ways and assist them in becoming self-directed. In addition, they promote communication between group members and in certain situations are careful to draw out the less articulate members of the group. Democratic leaders provide information, guidance, and suggestions, but do so without giving orders and without applying pressures. In their evaluation of followers, democratic leaders give objective praise and criticism. So that would be all. I hope you have understood and learned about my explanation. I am Angel Faith A. Tandul from BSCS 3A. Thank you and God bless.
The democratic style, also called the participative style, is a combination of the autocratic and laissez-faire types of leaders. A democratic leader is someone who asks for input and consider feedback from their team before making a decision. These are the democratic style. The simple assumption of Theory Y subordinates are capable of working on their own. Leader works with subordinates and treats them in an egalitarian manner. Or leader does not speak down to the group member, rather they speak on the same level. Outcomes of democratic style. The positive outcomes are greater group member satisfaction, commitment and cohesiveness, more friendliness, mutual praise, and group-mindedness, stronger worker and greater originality outcomes of democratic style motivation. The negative outcome is it takes more time and commitment than authoritarian leadership, can result in inefficiencies and lower productivity outcomes of democratic style. The benefits under this leadership style, employees can feel empowered, valued, and unified. It has the power to boost retention and morale. It also requires less managerial oversight, as employees are typically part of decision-making processes and know what they need to do. Laissez-faire or hands-off leadership style. Laissez-faire leadership is a method that assesses the unique talents of each employee and assigns responsibilities accordingly. It is the direct opposite of autocratic leadership. In other words, as long as the actions of an employee are not adversely affecting the company, employees are allowed to use their own skills and ideas to complete their tasks. Laissez-faire style is dissimilar to both Tier X and Tier Y, typically considered to be non-leadership. The leader is nominal and only engaged in minimal influence. Literally takes a hands-off attitude. The negative outcomes of laissez-faire style is very little accomplished. Group members feel directionless. Group members become unmotivated and disheartened. The benefits under the laissez-faire style encourage accountability, creativity, and the relaxed work environment, which often leads to higher employee retention rates. Leadership snapshot. Victoria Ransom co-founded social media software company with 400 employees and 21,000 clients. Victoria Ransom grew up in a farming community in New Zealand, where she learned the values of hard work, leading by examples, and humility that she brings to wildfire. The company instilled and demonstrated a list of values: passion, team player, humility, and integrity. Also on the list were having the courage to speak up and curiosity. Ransom believed that the best way to undermine a company's values is to put people in leadership.
So next topic is about leadership styles in practice. Each leader has a unique style of leadership. Some are very demanding and assertive, while others are more open and participative. Similarly, some leaders could be called micromanagers, while others could be labeled non-directive leaders. Whatever the case, it is useful and instructive to characterize your leadership regarding the degree to which you are authoritarian, democratic, or laissez-faire. So, ang leadership ay may iba't ibang pamamaraan o style na ginagawa sa kanilang nasasakupan upang maipamalas ang kanilang kakayahan sa isang organisasyon. So next is leadership and collaboration. It is important to note that this style of leadership are not distinct entities. It is best to think of them as occurring along a continuum, from high leader influence to low leader influence. Leaders who exhibit higher amounts of influence are more authoritarian. Leaders who show a moderate amount of influence are more democratic. Those who exhibit little to no influence are laissez-faire. Although we tend to exhibit primarily one style over the others, our personal leadership styles are not fixed and may vary depending on the circumstances. So, as you can see, the style of leadership, authoritarian leadership is also called as high. Democratic leadership is moderate or leader influence. Then last one is laissez-faire leadership or the low leadership. So, authoritarian leader is high because it provides clear expectation for what needs to be done, when it should be done, or how it should be done. This style of leadership is strongly focused on both command by the leaders and control of the followers. There are also a clear division between the leaders and the members. Authoritarian leaders make decisions independently with little or no input from the rest of the group. So, most of the time, ang authoritarian leaders, siya yung nagdidesisyon sa isang organization. Although, kumukuha ng mga iba't ibang idea mula sa members, pero ang authoritarian leader, siya mismo yung nagdidesisyon sa isang organisasyon. So, next is democratic leadership or participative. So, tinatawag na moderate ito because it encourages group members to participate but retain the final say in the decision-making process. Group members feel encouraged in the process and are more motivated and creative. Democratic leaders tend to make followers feel like they are an important part of the team, which helps foster commitment to the goal of the group. So, ang kagandahan ng democratic leadership, inaalaw yung mga members na magbigay ng mga ideas and binavalue niya yung mga members, and it provide all information to the team when making decision, and it is more flexible. So, ang benefits niya is, under this leadership style, employees can feel empowered, valued, and unified. It has the power to boost retention and morale. It also required less managerial oversight, as employees are typically part of decision-making processes. So next is laissez-faire leadership or low leadership. It is tended to result in groups that lack direction and members who blame each other for mistakes, refuse to accept personal responsibilities, made less progress, and produce less work. So, ito yung leadership na matatawag na pabaya. Hindi na manage ng maayos yung mga dapat gawin o yung mga responsibilidad sa isang organization. So, the benefits of laissez-faire leadership is this style encourage accountability, creativity, and a relaxed work environment, which often leads to higher employee retention rates. So, the challenges of laissez-faire leadership styles does not work well for new employees as they need guidance and hands-on support in the beginning. This method can also lead to a lack of structure, leadership confusion, and employees not feeling properly supported.